Welcome back to another Sunday prep day. If you're new here, every Sunday I prep for the week. So that means cutting all my vegetables and then making things that take a little bit longer. So today I'm going to make some coleslaw, I'm going to make a salsa, and I'm going to make some pork belly and some stock for some ramen. And also I'm going to soak some beans because I need those tomorrow for my Meatless Monday. So here I just have some red kidney beans, some dried beans. And I'm just going to soak them so when I need them tomorrow, they're ready to go. So that you can just go to the side. And we'll start off by cutting some onions. So I have 3 white ones that I'm just going to cut into little half rings. And since someone asked recently if I could post what I'll be cutting and preparing, I actually put a community post up yesterday. So if you want to follow along, you actually can. So, and also, if you don't follow me on Instagram, you will also find my menu and the before and after all the cutting on Instagram as well. And now I'll add the list of things I'll be prepping. So, all the ingredients and then what I'm going to do with it, like the stock, the pork belly, the coleslaw, and break that down. And I also have like the pantry items you'll need on there. So I'm just trying that out, so if you like that or if you have any suggestions, just let me know. But yeah, now that's out of the way, let's get on the way with the menu. So for lunch today, as always on Sunday, I'm going to have some sandwiches. I have some whole wheat triangle rolls, and I have some chicken deli meat to go on that. And I still have a little bit of lettuce left from last week. I'll put on that as well. And maybe some cucumber. And then for dinner, I have some Turkish pita. And I'll have some shawarma on that. And some peppers that I'll saute, some onions. I'll put some cucumber, some lettuce on there. Get it nice and healthy. So that's one of the reasons I need these onions. I'm just going to use them for a bunch of dishes. One thing I'm going to use them for is for the stock. So this one I'll just put in a separate container with the rest of my stock ingredients. So the stock is just going to be the braising liquid from the pork belly. Okay, so let's get that in a big container. So all my soup ingredient or stock ingredients are going to go in there. Actually, that was a small onion. Let me do a little bit more. It's about 1 big onion's worth. While I work on some garlic, we'll go over the rest of the menu. So I need a few cloves of garlic. For my stock, I'll just keep those whole. They're going to disintegrate. Plus, I'm going to strain the stock afterwards. So Monday we're on. For Monday for lunch, I'm going to do some soup. I still have some butternut squash soup in the freezer that I made a couple of weeks ago. So I'm just going to defrost that and use that because I have to use it up at some point. Can't keep things in the fridge forever, in the freezer forever. And then for dinner, I'm gonna do a bean chili. So for that, I'll need some peppers, some onions, garlic, chilies, beans, of course. That's how I'm soaking them. I'll do some tomato puree, or maybe I'll use that tomato and pepper puree that you see me use a lot lately. And some cumin. I'll just make that delicious, and I'm going to serve that with some lime cilantro rice. Then we're on Tuesday. For lunch, I'm going to have some coleslaw. I'm going to have coleslaw a lot this week because I need to use up some cabbage. So, and when you make coleslaw, it's just nice to make a bigger batch. And that means I'll have that several times this week. And I'm just going to have that with some chicken. So that's garlic done. And here I have a red onion. And I'm going to dice that for my coleslaw. And that, I'll have another bigger container that I'm going to make my coleslaw in. So to dice that up, I'm just going to cut it lengthwise, almost all the way to the end. I left the root piece on. And then I'll just cut it across nice and fine. So for dinner on Tuesday, Taco Tuesday, I'm going to make some pork belly tacos. So I'm going to use some hard shell tacos. And I'll probably put some coleslaw in. And some pork belly and some of the salsa that I'll be making in a moment. And then we're on Wednesday. For lunch, I'm going to do some green beans with some chicken. So if you are new here, most of my lunches, at least during the week, are low carb keto friendly because I don't need carbs for lunch during the week. I'll have regular dinners, but I cut carbs out for lunches except on the weekend. So there's that. And for dinner, I'm gonna do some pork belly ramen. So that pork belly with a half-boiled egg, some noodles, the stock. What else? I'm gonna do some green beans, some mushrooms. So, what am I gonna do next? Some more soup ingredients. Some celery. Like I said, I'm gonna strain the soup, so I'm not gonna cut it too fine. Just work through that real quick. So, for Thursday, for lunch, more coleslaw, and since I'll have pork belly left over, I'll do some pork belly. Let's get that in this container. And then for dinner, I'm gonna do a rice bowl with lime cilantro rice and some of that salsa. And yeah, maybe I'll have some corn with it, or maybe I'll have something else left over to add to it. We'll just see, but that should be delicious. Then I'm gonna cut up some carrot. I have these massive carrots, by the way. So on my my ingredients list, I wrote like 2 to 3 small carrots for this, but I'm gonna use this massive carrot. And I'm just gonna cut this in chunks for my soup. Well, half of it anyway. Again, I'm not gonna cut it too fine, but I'm gonna have it somewhat fine just to get as much flavor out of it as possible and in as least amount of time as possible. So that should be enough for my soup. Well, maybe a little bit at the end. We'll see. I need some julienne carrots for my coleslaw. So I'll do that, and whatever I've left, I think I have enough carrot, I'll put in my soup as well. So I'll just quickly do this. And there we go. That last little bit is a little hard to grate. So I'll just cut that for my soup. And this can go in with my coleslaw ingredients. And then to finish off the menu for Friday, Fish Friday, as I cut up these cucumbers. Fish Friday for lunch, I'm going to have some coleslaw with some grilled salmon. And then for dinner, I'm going to have a grain bowl with some broccoli and some salmon. So this cucumber is going to go in my shawarma tonight, and I'll do a second one because I also want some of my sandwiches for lunch today. So So let me do that real quick. Next up, we'll do some cabbage. So I have some cabbage left over from last time, about half a cabbage worth. So I'll just cut that in half and then in quarters so I can cut the little core out. And then I'll just cut that nice and fine. That is all the ingredients for my coleslaw. I'll finish making that after I'm done cutting. Next up, some broccoli. Just gonna take these florets off, and that's for just one meal for Friday. So I'm just gonna make these pieces about bite size. Then next up, some peppers. I'm gonna use them in my chili and in my salsa. So I'm just gonna cut them in half. And I'm also gonna use them for my shawarma, actually. So cut in half, take the seeds out. And then for the shawarma, I want them in little strips, so I'm gonna cut them perpendicular. So I'll do that to half of the red and half of the green. And then the other halves I want diced, so I'm going to cut it lengthwise first. And then across for a dice. So that's going to go in my salsa and my vegan chili. And again, I'm going to do the exact same thing for the green one. Then I have some chilies. I have 4, so they're gonna go in my chili, in my shawarma, in my salsa. So I just have some different colors, just because different colors. And I'm just gonna slice them up real quick. And then next up, I have some cherry tomatoes. Those are going to go in my salsa. So I'm going to blend that up, but I'm still going to cut them in half just because I don't want to turn them into pulp. I just want to blitz them a couple of times. If they're slightly bigger, maybe even quarter them. And that's why I also cut all the other ingredients that are going to go in this, just because I don't want to over blend it and make it smooth. So yeah, I'll have like a good handful here. I'm just gonna quarter. And to this, I'll add some chilies. And like I said, I'm using just already sliced because I just don't want to over mix it. I'll add a little bit of peppers, not too much. Some garlic and some onion. And for that, I also need some cilantro. I'm gonna cut off the stems. Those I'm gonna save for curry paste for next week. The rest I'm gonna slice up nice and fine. So this is gonna go in my lime cilantro rice. A little bit is gonna go in the salsa. So in my curry, maybe even, not my curry, my chili. I'll just keep running my knife through until it's nice and fine. So some of that can go in there. And the rest can go in a container. Then next I have some mushrooms. I'm just going to quarter. These are going to go in my stock. I don't really like mushrooms that much, but for flavoring, I do like them. I just don't like the texture, so these are going to get strained out, but they will give a nice umami. So I have a good handful, 2 handfuls, and I have these regular button mushrooms. They'll finish first. that. And then I have some of these enoki mushrooms, I think they're called. And some I'll use for my stock. And they can just go in like that. And these I'm going to use as garnish for my ramen. So I'll just separate these. And I'll set these aside. And then the last thing is some green beans. So these are going to go in my ramen and for one meal with some chicken. So I'm just going to top and tail the lot of this. Okay, that's all my chopping done. Then I'm going to cut this lime in half and get my juicer. And I'll juice that right in with the salsa. And to this, I'll add a little bit of salt and some cumin. And I'm just going to pulse this in my little food processor. And there we go, that's still nice and chunky. Let's have a little taste for seasoning. Yep, just right. So I can put a lid on that and put that in the fridge. Now let's get my Ninja Foodi preheated on saute, high, and I'll put a little bit of oil in. And I'm just going to clean up a little bit while that preheats. Oh, and we're at 27 minutes now so far for all of this. All right, now that the Ninja Foodi is preheated, I'm gonna add my onions, my garlic, celery, and carrot. And I'll add some salt and some pepper. And I'll add in my mushrooms as well. And I'll just let that saute and soften. And meanwhile, I'm just gonna work on the coleslaw. So for that, I just have my onions, my carrot, and my cabbage. I'll add some salt. And I'll add some pepper. I'm using pre-ground for this just because I don't want the chunky bits in there. And then I'll add some mayo and some mustard and give that a good mix. And I'll just see if it needs any more mayo. You don't want to make it too wet because the salt will continue to draw moisture out. So you want a little bit on the dry side, but not completely dry, obviously. So, by the looks of it, I need a little bit more mayo. Just adjust as you go along. Give that a little taste for seasoning. Want a little bit more pepper in there, and a touch more salt. And that's coleslaw ready, so that can go in the fridge. And let me quickly check on my vegetables. They're starting to soften now. So, I'm gonna take my pork belly. This is a nice piece, about 1 kilogram, slightly under. So I'm just gonna score the skin. And I'll turn it around and score the other way so you have a nice crisscross. And this will just help draw some of that fat out. First of all, to flavor the broth, but also you don't want too much fat on that when you bite into it. So now that the vegetables have softened, I'm just gonna put that on top of the vegetables, skin side down. And give my hand a quick wash. And then I'll add some water until the pork belly is mostly submerged. And then I'm gonna switch that from saute to pressure cook. Put my pressure lid on and I'll go for 45 minutes until that pork belly is completely done. And this is what it looks like when it's done. So I'm gonna cut this in 4 pieces when I wanna use that for my pork belly tacos, for my ramen, for my rice bowl, and for a meal with my coleslaw. And I'll just air fry that until the skin is nice and crispy, and then I'll slice it and serve it. And here I have the braising liquid that I just strained, and that's the basis for the stock for my ramen. So I think I'll add some miso paste, some chili oil, and just make that delicious. So that's it. That's everything for the week, prepped and done. I can now have lunch or dinner on the table in minutes. If you like this kind of content, I do this every single Sunday. And if you'd like to see what I do with all of this, you can check out my Instagram where I post every single meal, or about once a month I also post a video on here of everything I eat in a day for a whole week at a time. So I posted one 2 weeks ago now, I think, so you can check that out as well. But yeah, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Until next time, bye for now.